All right, we are live on YouTube. Happy New Year 2026, everyone. Welcome to Navigating the Modern World with Eli. Glad you could all join me here today for another impromptu show. I was really hoping I didn't have to do this show. I just wanted to do my Walking with Purpose stream today, which will more than likely be happening shortly after this stream right here on GNA2, Genuine Live Personal Development. But, you know, like I've said recently, I will continue to correct the record for as long as necessary. If people continue to say things about me that aren't true, people state false statements as fact, and intentionally try to hurt my reputation, I will continue to correct that. So before we get to that, though, let me first of all make sure that everything is rolling smoothly. Let me check out the back end of YouTube and make sure that it's rolling well. Looks like it is. The chat is open today. Respectfully, maturely, and professionally is first here. She says, Happy New Year, everyone. GLM says, not first. 1 minute delay between what I say and what goes out. I don't know if you heard the stream yesterday, GLM. Please keep your comments, and everyone needs to keep their comments respectful. You can respond and say what you think. Just don't be insulting, and don't say things that are too crazy. Please, I'm not trying to control what people say, but we've got to stay within the terms of service. And we want to be more respectful and professional here at the GNA. It's a brand new year. We want to start it off on the right foot. So welcome. She says, not first. I saw part of your stream earlier this morning. GLM, you were up quite early. I'll catch the rest later. Good show as always. So the back end is rolling well. Let me also make sure that the YouTube notification went out. Looks like it did. Let me do a sound check. She says, Happy New Year, everyone. GLM says, not first. 1 minute delay between what I say and what goes out. I don't know if you heard the stream yesterday, GLM. Please keep your comments, and everyone needs to keep their comments respectful. You can respond and say what you think. Just don't be insulting. Give me just 1 second. Okay. All right. So let's get right to it because there's a lot to talk about and not much time. I want to try to get this done within an hour and 20 minutes to an hour and a half or so. My lady says, hey, GLM, Happy New Year. Yeah, Happy New Year to everyone. Once again, Happy New Year 2026. All right. So the topic of the stream is, let's start off the 2026 New Year by calmly correcting the record once again, one more time. The topic of this stream is, let's start off the 2026 New Year by calmly correcting the record once again. So if you haven't had a chance to view and listen to my stream from yesterday right here on GNA2, Genuine Live Personal Development, please go ahead and do so. It almost has 500 views, and a lot of people were interested in the topic where I corrected the record yesterday about a bunch of things regarding a group of people out here that continues to say things about me that are not true. They continue to defame my character. They continue to make false statements as facts. They continue to make the most hypocritical and contradicting statements because that's simply their content. The majority of their audience are Eli haters, and they want Eli hate content over anything else. And they donate more money to Eli hate content than anything else, the creators on that end in that drama group, more than anything that they do, right? And the defendant in my circuit civil case that he did a stream yesterday, and it was around the same time as my stream. I did not know he was going live before I went live. I do not care when he goes live or when other people go live. I go live and I create content when I have time and when I feel it is necessary, right? And he tried to mention that, I went live at the same time as him. That was just a coincidence. During my breaks yesterday, I did hear a little bit of his stream as it was happening. I did correct a few things, but there are so many more things that were said, and I want to correct the record regarding that. Also, the non-party in the case, the non-party lady that is friends with the defendant in my circuit civil case, who has tried to make several filings in the case, she actually did something else today. And I'm not going to mention that quite yet. I'm going to save that for the second part of the show towards the end. But she did something that just, I don't even know what to say anymore, to be honest with you. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And, we'll get more into that during the second part of the show. But, it's New Year's Day. And I hope you all had a very safe and sane New Year's Eve. Last night, my lady Dawn and I spent New Year's Eve with my mother. We brought in the New Year's together. We hung out a bit. We were watching on ABC, Channel 7 here in the San Francisco Bay Area. On ABC 7 here in the San Francisco Bay Area, we were watching Dick Clark's Rockin' New Year's Eve with Ryan Seacrest, because, Dick Clark passed away a while back. And Ryan Seacrest was co-hosting the shows with Dick Clark while Dick Clark was still alive. He was getting older and he was dealing with a lot of complications. And it was a great show. They actually extended the show until 4 a.m. And, they even brought in the New Year in Vegas, and they had some great acts like the New Kids on the Block, which my lady loves, the New Kids on the Block. And I like them too. They're cool. They're cool. I like Donnie Wahlberg, and he's had a phenomenal career. And wow, that guy is just so busy. I don't know when he finds time to sleep. I was telling my lady Dawn about Donnie Wahlberg. When does he have time to sleep with everything he has going on? He's now doing Boston Blue. He used to do what was it? Blue Bloods with Tom Selleck, and that show, I believe, last year was the series finale after, I believe, 14 seasons. So it was just a really good time, and we talked. Don and I were talking with my mother, and we brought in the New Year, just hanging out and having some great conversation, and it was just amazing. So hopefully you folks had a wonderful New Year's Eve, and hopefully today you have a great New Year's Day. Don and I and my mother, we're going to hang out with my aunt and my cousin. My brother, I believe, is going out and doing something with his girlfriend, something else. It's all good. I love my family. Family's important. Hopefully you love your family as well, and you're treating them well, and you're bringing in the new year in the best possible way that you can, with positive vibes. So let's get to it, because we've got a lot to go over here. Today, again, we're going to be correcting the record. January 1st, 2026, New Year's Day. So, at the beginning here, I want to start off by saying, once again, the boring yada, 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 which is true. Today is not a drama stream. We're not a drama channel here. We've never been. This is a record correction stream. I'm responding to specific claims that were made about my business, my integrity, and my work. I'm not here to insult anyone. I'm not here to speculate about motives. I'm here to calmly state facts and let people decide for themselves. This matters because when someone makes statements about a real business, not just a personality, those statements have real consequences. So like I mentioned yesterday, the defendant called my business the sham business. And I'm going to paraphrase what he said, then I'm going to have my response here. Hang on, give me a second here. Yeah, give me just 1 second. Okay. So here's what he said. I'm paraphrasing it. He told his audience that my business is a sham. He said it as a statement, not a question. Then later, after stating it as fact, he attempted to walk it back by saying it was his opinion. That was quite funny. I mean, that was just wow. Let's backpedal once we realized that, we made a false statement as fact once again about Eli's business or Eli himself, right? So let me correct the record here. Let's slow this down because this is important. Saying a business is a sham is a statement of fact. Saying, in my opinion, after the fact does not magically turn a factual accusation into protected commentary. Okay? That just speaks for itself. All right? If I say that restaurant is laundering money and then later say, in my opinion, I've still made a serious factual allegation. That's an example, folks. That's not me saying that about any restaurant or anything. That's just an example. The label doesn't change the substance. Okay? My business is not a sham. It is a legally formed LLC. It has a registered DBA, Elias Melas DBA, Genuine Networking Association, or GNA for short. It has business licensing here in the city of Redwood City where I live. It has trademarks, and I not only have a federally registered trademark, again, with the USPTO, the United States Patent and Trademark Office, I also have a state registered trademark with the California Secretary of State's office, the same office that I have my LLC, limited liability company, registered with. So it has trademarks and copyrights filed and registered. I've got plenty of copyright certificates from the United States Copyright Office, also known as the U.S. Library of Congress, and more are coming soon. I filed 3 recently for my upcoming federal copyright case I'm going to be filing later on this year on the defendant. A business, sorry, those are verifiable facts. They are. It's public information, right? It's public information. A business does not become fake because it is small. A business does not become fake because it is early stage. And yes, we're still in the early stages. Even though we've been doing this for many years, we're in the early stages and we're figuring things out. We're figuring out, our monetization strategy. And in the meantime, we've been meeting new people and we've been helping people with their personal development. And more. We'll get more into that in a little bit. A business does not become fake because it reinvests instead of extracting profit. Calling it a sham doesn't make it one. It just signals hostility. Lots of hostility, in my opinion. Section 2, the backpedal and why it matters. So what happened? So what stood out to me was not just the accusation, but the shift. First, the defendant made the statement confidently as though it were established fact. Then later in the same stream, it quietly became just my opinion. The backpedal. So my analysis here is there's a name for this rhetorical move, and I'm going to describe it without attacking anyone. This is called post hoc qualification. Again, post hoc qualification. It is when someone makes a strong factual assertion, sees pushback or risk, and then retroactively reframes the claim as opinion to reduce accountability. That's what this guy, the defendant, has done all his life. He pushes the boundaries, and then when he realizes, he's exposed himself legally, very legally, then he tries to backpedal and reframe because his audience is not going to respond to being nice to people. They respond when he attacks people, in my opinion. Okay? You'll see this a lot in online commentary, especially when someone wants the impact of a factual accusation without the responsibility that comes with it. They want the impact of the outrage fueled within their audience, so that way they can donate to the creator for the outrageous content, right? I'm not accusing anyone of intent. I'm describing the pattern people can observe for themselves. And here's the best statement regarding this, period. Facts don't need to be walked back. Only accusations do. One more time. Facts don't need to be walked back. Only accusations do. Section 3. Pretending to employ people / fake titles. The defendant made false accusations of the people that are volunteers for my organization and said that they have fake titles. He implied that I pretend to employ people and that volunteer titles are fake or meaningless. I think he knows better than that. It's either that or severe cognitive dissonance, in my opinion. We'll get more into that in just a little bit. There's a section for that. My response is this reflects a misunderstanding or misrepresentation of how many real organizations operate. Volunteer roles are not fake. Titles describe responsibilities, not payroll classification. Nonprofits, community organizations, advocacy groups, and early-stage companies use volunteer titles every day, legally, ethically, and transparently. There is nothing deceptive about that unless someone lies about compensation. I don't. Again, there is nothing deceptive about that unless someone lies about compensation. I don't. And suggesting that volunteer structure equals fraud is simply false. Absolutely false. Okay. Section 4. This is where the defendant in his stream yesterday talked about profits, taxes, and implications, right? So he suggested that because my business is not highly profitable, it must not be legitimate, and implied things about taxes. Here's my response. I will not discuss private tax details on YouTube, and I don't need to. Profit is not the test of legitimacy. Compliance is. Many real businesses operate at low or no profit for years. That is not scandal. That is reality. And speculation about finances is not analysis. It is narrative building. Speculation about finances is not analysis. It is narrative building. A narrative that will enrage his audience to show up and donate lots of money. He has to build this narrative to create the outrage surrounding me to his audience that's primarily viewing him only because only when he talks about me. Let's see here. Section 5, contradictions and behavioral pattern. What people are reacting to and why the tide feels like it's turning. It's not me attacking anyone. See, things are starting to shift right now. Things are starting to shift in the right direction. We've worked very hard here at the GNA, short for Genuine Networking Association, to get all of our ducks in a row legally within the business, and to also work on better YouTube optics. We've been working very hard to, handle things not only legally, but to also, present ourselves and our content better out here on YouTube and anywhere else on social media where we have a presence or will have a future presence at. It's the inconsistency. Okay. On the one hand, this is what he's saying. On the one hand, my business is fake. I'm illegitimate. I should be dismissed. On the other hand, what he's doing is hours of content about me, repeated engagement regarding me, and a continued fixation on anything surrounding me to keep feeding that audience, right? Those two positions cannot comfortably coexist. And here's the kicker. This is what I feel, in my opinion, this all boils down to. I've thought it was hypocrisy. I still think it's partially hypocrisy. But it isn't fully hypocrisy. It is cognitive dissonance. This is cognitive dissonance at its finest. And I've just never, ever, ever seen any one individual like the defendant here constantly behave in this way. And this is the best way to professionally, respectfully, and responsibly address it. That's a psychological term, not an insult. I'm not insulting him. I am talking about the behavior. It describes what happens when someone holds two conflicting narratives at the same time. Yeah, the truth and what he perceives to be the truth, or what works best for feeding his audience as a third one, right? Again, it describes what happens when someone holds two conflicting narratives at the same time. People can see that without me pointing fingers. I don't have to even say a thing for people to see that. But I'm saying, a bunch of things here today because I have the right to protect my reputation from further being tarnished by this group of people. All right. Let's see. GLM says Happy New Year. So why the tide is turning? My stream yesterday reached nearly 500 views because it wasn't fueled by outrage, and it'll probably have more than that by the time this ends. Again, my stream yesterday reached nearly 500 views because it wasn't fueled by outrage. It was calm, it was clear, and it was disciplined. I firmly believe that people are tired of chaos, or at least the chaos surrounding myself. They're tired of the exaggeration surrounding me. They're tired of watching the same attacks recycled. Clarity travels farther than noise. Let me repeat that one more time. Clarity travels farther than noise. And in closing, regarding what the defendant said about me on his stream yesterday, I'm going to say that's the record. I'm not asking anyone to agree with me. I'm asking people to notice patterns. I'll continue to respond the same way, calmly, factually, and without insults. If more claims are made, I'll address them the same way. If not, I'll keep building. And I'm going to keep building regardless. This year, like I mentioned yesterday, is about let's do this better together. Let's do this better together, okay? Now, after the defendant's stream ended, the defendant made two very vile community postings to continue crying like a baby because I am rightfully and professionally correcting the record regarding his false narratives of me. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go over the first posting and I'm going to paraphrase like I've been doing. Okay. Then I'm going to take a break after that. And then I'm going to come back and read the second posting or paraphrase it and respond to it. And then I'm going to go into what the defendant's, let's call her a friend, that he works with out here on this platform and acts in concert with to create this vile, defamatory content on me and to constantly try to paint me in a negative light. We're going to get to that because she actually did something again. And yeah, we're going to talk about it. We're going to correct the record proactively, right? So posting number 1, this is the deep analysis. The post contains explicit coercion. Basically, he's saying, in other words, that I either, drop the lawsuit or he will continue to attack me publicly. And if I don't drop the lawsuit, he will escalate his speech and platform actions, meaning false flagging me, which was part of the title of the stream yesterday. I mean, that, to me, you put a 1 in the chat if you feel those things sound like threats. To me, in my opinion, they sound like threats. I honestly think he's just very, very triggered and very, very upset at the fact that I'm properly correcting the record and shutting down his game of painting me in a negative light, in a false negative light, as his content strategy for commercial exploitation and monetization. This is not venting. This is conditional pressure tied to legal action. he really doesn't want to be dealing with this case. And to be honest with you, neither do I. I don't have a choice. I want him to stop his unlawful behavior towards me. I've tried to handle it out of court for the last 6 to 8 years. And every time he's told me, F you, Eli, I'll talk about you all I want. I'll talk about you all I want in any way that I want. I'll use as much of your content as I want. It's all fair use, no matter how much I use. That's all I've heard from him. So it got to the point of where we had to sue and be in the position that him and I both are in here today, or where we're both at today. He publicly tied his behavior to whether I pursue my legal case. I don't even know if he realizes what he's saying when he's live and on the fly and super triggered because I'm correcting the record properly and truthfully, right? That is factual, observable, and devastatingly clear. My lady respectfully, maturely, and professionally says 1. Absolutely. Thank you, babe. 1 minute delay between what I say and what goes out while we're live here on the in-studio streams for extra protection in case we need to dump the delay. So B, the fake business claim is repeated after correction. I corrected it on my live stream yesterday that he went back and seeked through and heard me correct it. And then he doubled down on his community post. He doubles down on fake business, fraud, and calling me disingenuous. This is important because it shows repetition, escalation, refusal to correct after notice. He basically has a reckless disregard for the truth, right? And a reckless disregard for, harassment and defamation and commercial exploitation, monetization, right? After the record has been corrected multiple times, the claim continues. Courts and audiences understand what that implies. It speaks for itself. C, the flagging contradiction. Now, this is huge. This is really, really huge. This is just not only huge, but it's funny. And I can even laugh at this if I want to. And I'm going to try to laugh at it a little bit because I've had to put in so much work, time, and effort to try to get this to stop. And it's caused me so much emotional distress and stuff like that. So me laughing about it is not me not taking it serious or seriously. It's me just basically trying to humor myself and say, hey, I've got this. Everything in the end is going to pan out in the right way. I put my faith into the court. Posting number 1 contains 3 mutually exclusive statements. And I'm paraphrasing this. He said that, he lied about flagging me. He then says he can flag anything that he wants. Sure, you can. Are you allowed to lie about flagging? Well, I mean, sure, if it's for YouTube theatrics, and as long as you don't lie to the court under penalty of perjury, you can lie to your audience. I don't know how much they're going to respect you after that, but they're going to see this. 1 minute you're saying you did this, then you're saying you didn't do it. And you're saying that now because you're trying to not have me use this against you in court, which I don't know. Maybe I'll file this, maybe I won't. I don't know. We'll see. I'll file what's necessary, but I'll correct the record publicly as well. And he then says, that if I keep going, he'll probably start flagging. What are you going to flag? All I'm doing is calmly, respectfully, and maturely and professionally correcting the record. Does it make you look bad? Does it make you look like, possibly like you're a liar? Does it make you, does it contradict what you've done? Does it get in the way of you continuing to try to paint me in a false way to your audience that gets you all the traction and makes you all the money? I think that's what you're most concerned about, in my opinion. There's nothing to flag. You can flag all you want. They're not going to take down a clean stream. By the way, I'm not showing, for the time being, I have the chat turned off on screen, because if I need to moderate something in the chat, even for my moderators, I can do that and it won't get recorded on the screen. And so until I'm sure that all my mods and other people are on the same page regarding, the way we handle things here professionally, I'm going to leave the chat off on the screen. Now, in the comments section of this posting, paraphrasing, it says, dozens of people flagged. People will flag regardless. We flagged a bunch. Woohoo. Sounds like you've got a cheerleading squad of sock accounts. And maybe a few real people just repeating the same thing or just agreeing with you just to agree, because if they don't agree with you, then, they're afraid you're going to excommunicate them from the group. And there's something going on right now. When I find out more about it, I'll probably, do another show about it. Apparently, the non-party lady that's friends with the defendant, somebody's been, I guess, talking about her behind her back and basically calling her out for associating with a certain person. And, the non-party lady is saying, I can talk to whoever I want, which is true. But if you contradict yourself to your own people, if you start doing things that question your credibility and your trust within your own group, meaning that you're talking with people that the majority of the group knows that these people are not trustworthy, you're going to start betraying their trust. But yeah, she can talk to whoever she wants, even if it's somebody that the rest of the group doesn't trust or doesn't want around because they don't trust them. And all that's going to do is hurt her optically on YouTube. She's doing that to herself. Within the same post and comment thread, the story changes multiple times. How many times are you going to keep changing the story, sir? You change the story in real time, even while I'm live. And I'm going to keep correcting it in real time, as much as I can, as much as is necessary. D, audience amplification, reputational harm. Comments assert that my business is phony. That is definitely not true. And then they're saying that my team, basically my team of volunteers, exists to slander people. That is not true. All they've done is stand up to the BS that's coming from the other side. Okay? Judges would see how fake it is. So these people are so triggered in these comment sections, and it's primarily unidentifiable sock accounts, at least at this point they're unidentifiable, okay, that are saying that the judge is going to see how fake it is and they're going to rule against me for it. That is the furthest thing from the truth, and that's the furthest thing from describing how judges actually operate. They're a lot more professional and reasonable than that, and they're a lot smarter than that to see this kind of BS. They've dealt with so many people, they can see these patterns, even better than I can. False statements repeated by an audience don't become true through repetition. False statements repeated by an audience don't become true through repetition. And that's the end of the first posting. So we have posting number 2, and then we're going to get into talking about the non-party lady and what she did. And we're going to clear it up because you folks are going to see what actually happens when the court finally starts to take some action and starts to have our hearings that are coming up in February and in April. So we are at 40 minutes. That's not bad. Not bad. I'm right on track. So what I'm going to do, let me check out the chat here real quick. Thank you so much to the 39 people that are here right now. I'm going to queue up some royalty-free YouTube music. Do 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 do. Let me see here. Uh-huh. Let me see here. Let me see. Do 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 do. Let me see here. All right, music is all queued up. Music is all queued up. I'm going to step away for about a 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 minute break or something like that, and we'll finish things up when we return. Stick around. Stick around, round. We'll be right back. right, we're back. We are back live. Welcome back to the show, everyone. Yeah. Woo! All right. Welcome back to Navigating the Modern World with Eli. Glad you could all join me here today on this very special day. It's New Year's Day 2026, and I am really super fired up about the new year. This is going to be the year of the GNA. This is absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, going to be the year of the GNA, despite what anyone says. Please accept no imitations. We are the real deal here at the authentic, the original, and the best GNA, short for Genuine Networking Association. We are here to uplift you. We are here to inspire you. We are here to motivate you to become the best possible version of yourself that you can be, so that way you can accomplish whatever it is that your hearts desire. That's what we do here. That's our purpose. That's my purpose. That's my lady Dawn's purpose. And that's the purpose of everyone else that supports us here through our executive team and otherwise. So yeah, I'm just super fired up about it. Very, very fired up about it. Woo, man. Yeah. So, now we've only got 15 seconds up. GLM wants me to do a dance stream at some point. If she's still around and she's hearing this, she wants me to do a dance stream. If you're still around, GLM, let me know. Do you still want that dance stream? We have to have some fun here at the GNA at times, right? We can't always be serious. Last night, I was talking with my mother and Dawn, and I was having some champagne. I had some Corbel Brut, which Corbel is actually a local distillery and winery here in Northern California, about an hour and a half north of where I live, in a town called Guerneville, which is near Santa Rosa. So it's like an hour and a half north of San Francisco, maybe about 2 hours north from where we're at, because, it's about an hour and a half or so from San Francisco, maybe a little bit less. And I've actually been there. And I had some Corbel. And, I don't really drink that much, but it was New Year's Eve, and we're in a safe place. We're not driving and all that, right? And ODN TV, Happy New Year 2026. 1 minute delay between what I say and what goes out there. Will also be a Walking with Purpose stream shortly after this one ends, ODN. You're going to get a double dip today. But yeah, I was telling my mom and Dawn yesterday, because we were talking about politics. We were talking about 2025 and how we're going to just really ramp things up in 2026. And I told Dawn and my mom, I said, look, most days of the year, I've got to stick up my you-know-what, right? I've got to stick up my you-know-what. And the one day I pull out that stick out of my you-know-what, they were both kind of telling me, I was kind of getting a little bit, amped up in a positive way. You know me, I get excited and I'm loud and proud. I'm a loud and proud Greek guy. You know what I'm saying? And respectfully, maturely, professionally, Don says, hey, ODN, Happy New Year. ODN put a nice New Year party emoji in there. Thank you for that, ODN, Old Dirty Ninja. I'm like, the one day out of the year, no one's going to care. And where we live, the homes are spread so far apart, and no one can hear us. But people are up late on New Year's Eve and all that. They're up late, and everyone's having fun. And I was just having some fun. So yeah, it was a really, really good time. But yes, I got a little bit amped up, and I always do. That's just me. That's my positive spirit. That is my positive vibe. So anyway. Let's go ahead and get right back to it. We've got 36 in the box right now. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, so if you missed first part of the show, the DVR is turned off. If you're here live, you're going to have to go back and check out the replay. I went through the defendant's stream yesterday that was run around the same time as my stream was run. It was just coincidence. It wasn't planned that way by either side. And then I went through the first of 2 community postings that he made after that stream. And now we're on posting number 2. But let me make sure that this is still rolling smoothly. Hold on. Hang tight. I was just having some fun. So, yeah, it was a really, really good time. But yes, I got a little bit amped up. And I always do. That's just me. That's my positive spirit. That is my positive vibe. All right. All is rolling well. ODN, you came at the right time, because wait till you see what I discussed towards the end here. Posting number 2, Chat GPT misuse. This group of people in this drama group led by the defendant in my circuit civil case and a friend of his, which is a lady that makes content, similar content as he does within the same drama group, right? They like to misuse ChatGPT. Okay, it's a fact. It's a fact because they don't feed ChatGPT all of the information. They feed ChatGPT limited information to output something that's going to come off as I'm doing something wrong, or I'm wrong in general to their audience, right? So this is a big one. This is the biggest one right here. What the defendant is actually doing, he feeds ChatGPT partial facts. You, sir, choose to not feed it the entire set of facts, because then it would make you look really bad in front of your audience. Is that the situation? Because I'll just correct the record. What you omit, I will put out. Right? Here's what he omits. He omitted in his posting that he does near full rebroadcasts of my live streams. He omitted that he does live watch party type of behavior streams. Okay. He omitted the fact that he monetized these streams and incited donations, in essence, commercially exploiting me. He omitted the market substitution factor, where if he's using almost 100% or 100% of my original, whether it's rebroadcasting me while I'm live or pre-recorded or whatever, it's a substitution of the original, which is a part of fair use, one of the factors of fair use. He omitted the timing of my registration within 90 days. He actually did put that in there, but he didn't talk about it, right? He said, I believe he said, from what I remember reading it, I believe he said that he's not worried about statutory damages, at least for now. I guess he's not going to worry about anything until reality sets, the case is filed, and then we're in court, and he has to explain all of this to a federal copyright court judge, right? So he omits all that, then presents the output as objective truth. Oh, my. Oh, let's see. All right, nothing new in the chat. Okay. So, here's the truth. AI outputs depend entirely on the information provided to them. So whatever he inputs is the answer he's going to get. If he leaves something critical out, the AI can't do its job of properly assessing the situation. He wants to assess the situation in a way that constantly makes me look like I'm wrong in front of his audience. Bottom line. If key facts are omitted, the answer changes. Yeah, if key facts are omitted to ChatGPT, for example, it's not going to give the proper answer. The answer changes from what's actually the truth, right? This wasn't a legal ruling. It was a hypothetical response to a curated prompt. This wasn't a legal ruling. It was a hypothetical response to a curated prompt. Boy, I couldn't have said it better myself. Now, the hidden contradiction in posting number 2. The defendant says that he's not afraid of copyright court. In my opinion, in my very strong opinion, I think that's a lie. I think that's just performing for the audience, leading the audience to believe that he's not afraid of copyright court. Well, maybe he isn't, because we were talking about cognitive dissonance earlier, and someone that is, in that state is going to have an alternate perception of what's actually the truth, right? And then he says that he stopped rebroadcasting, restreaming me. And then he said that he might start rebroadcasting me and restreaming me again. Okay. And I'll just say this. If he does that, then we'll just, preserve the evidence, and we'll have even more evidence to present to the federal copyright court judge. I mean, that's just the way it goes. This signals deterrence without admission. One more time. This signals deterrence without admission. So what matters is not why he says he stopped, but that the behavior changed. Okay? Listen to what he says and then look at what he does. In essence, folks, in general, one thing I always have taught at the GNA is don't necessarily listen to what people say. Look at what they do. Look at their actions. We've all heard the famous phrase, actions speak louder than words, right? Apply it to him, and then you'll understand. Actions speak louder than words, right? One of the most famous proverbs around, right? Makes total sense here in this case, right? Number 3, what the defendant's behavior is called. What the defendant's behavior is called. So it is cognitive dissonance. But let's layer this properly. Behavior number 1, cognitive dissonance. What's the definition? Cognitive dissonance is when someone holds 2 conflicting narratives at the same time. On one hand, I'm described as irrelevant and fake. On the other, there is constant focus, escalation, and fixation. So I'm irrelevant and fake, but to him, I'm the majority of his content and monetization, aspect, right? Those two things don't align. Let's repeat it one more time. On one hand, he describes me as irrelevant and fake, and then on the other hand, he constantly focuses on me. He escalates and he's fixated on me and my content. Again, those two things don't align. This is a clean way to say this with no insults and no diagnosis. It's pretty cut and dry. And here's something that this guy has become a master of. He's probably been a master of this, in my opinion, since birth, because, this guy knows how to crawl under people's skin. This guy knows what to say to get reactions from people and then use those reactions of people to get what he wants, right? Behavior number 2, narrative reframing. It's very important. Narrative reframing. This is when someone states a claim as fact, then reframes it as opinion after backlash. This is a pattern of reframing, not clarification. Or, facts don't usually need to be walked back. accusations do. This is crystal clear, cut and dry. Facts don't usually need to be walked back. Accusations do. Behavior number 3, audience proxy attacks. Boy, he's good at that. Now, I don't have any proof that any of the sock accounts are his or other creators, other known creators in his group. But, I highly assume that some of them are. Anyway, it doesn't matter. He's still allowing the sock accounts to say some pretty nasty and false things about me in the comments section of his community postings, his live stream chats, and in the comments section of his live stream replays or other videos he creates pre-recorded. The defendant lets his audience say the most extreme things after complaining about my audience responding to defend themselves, including defending me from him, and then selectively agrees with his comment section. So listen to the hypocrisy or the cognitive dissonance here, okay? The defendant lets his audience say the most extreme things about me and about my group of people. And this after complaining about my audience responding. And like I said yesterday, sometimes my audience can say some very insulting things, which I'm trying to get people over here to be a little bit more professional, right? Sometimes they can say some things that are, come off pretty strong, but they're reacting because of what he's saying and doing. He's a hypocrite, right? So after complaining about my audience responding to defend themselves, including my audience defending me regarding what he and other people from his group are saying publicly about us and myself. And then he selectively agrees with his comment section. When a creator repeatedly amplifies false claims without correcting them, the audience internalizes them as truth. This is huge. This is why I've been constantly and will continue to correct the record every day if I have to. When a creator repeatedly amplifies false claims without correcting them, the audience internalizes them as truth. So basically what it's saying is that when he continues to amplify all this stuff about me that's not true, people start to believe it because he's really good at making it sound believable even if it's not. And it usually is not. One more part here before we get to the non-party lady and what she did. Okay. So let's correct posting number 1. Okay. Here's like a synopsis of it in my own words. After my stream, a public post was made tying continued attacks to whether I pursue my legal case. I want to be very clear. I am allowed to seek legal remedies. I am not required to trade my rights for peace. He wants me to settle the case with him, apologize to him and his parents and the whole world, right? For things that I don't owe an apology. Anything I did in the past, a long time ago, I've already apologized for. And a lot of this stuff has been adjudicated and dismissed in a prior case he filed on me, a stalking case he filed on me in the same courthouse where I'm now suing him as the plaintiff in this circuit civil case, right? So I'm not going to trade my rights for supposed peace because he's not trustworthy. I have no faith in him to do the right thing because I've tried to put faith in him in the past, and every time he screwed me over. And a lot of other people like ODN here and other people on YouTube over the last 6 to 8 years have tried to put their faith in him, and every single time, he's done the complete opposite of what he promised to do when people try to give him the benefit of the doubt or have faith in him. I have absolutely zero faith in him at all right now. That's why we're in court. When you have zero faith in someone, your only option is court at that point. The Post repeats the claim that my business is fake. That claim has been corrected multiple times. It remains false. What stood out most was the inconsistency. First, flagging was claimed, then it was denied, then it was threatened again. Boom, 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 flip, flop, flippity, flip, 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 flop, flip, flop, flippity, flip, 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 flop, flip, flop. I can't even do that flip flop song that the defendant and his group have played many times, calling myself and others that they've talked about over the years on YouTube as flip floppers. He's a big flip flopper. This is obvious flip flopping. Okay. Let's see. I am not assigning motive. I am pointing out that the story changed publicly in real time. It changed publicly in real time. He was live. And then I corrected the record, and then he corrected himself and said the opposite of what he initially stated as fact. He then tried to say, it's my opinion. It's a little too late to do the right thing now. When narratives shift this quickly, people are right to slow down and ask questions. Posting number 2, let's correct that real quick before we get to the non-party nonsense again. Okay. Correcting posting number 2 plus comments. Paraphrased. A second post relied heavily on an AI output. We just talked about this. The first posting was during the end of the first segment, then I took a break, and I came back and started off with posting number 2. So a second post relied heavily on an AI output. AI does not decide facts. Courts do. Courts decide facts, not AI. These people on that side over there like to think that, AI, in this case, ChatGPT, is the judge, jury, and executioner. And let me make it very clear. Any artificial intelligence, including ChatGPT, they are not a judge, they are not the jury, and they are not the executioner. Figuratively speaking, of course, because this is a civil case, not a criminal case, but you get it. You get it. The executioner part would be the judgment in this case, civil. Now, if you're in a criminal case, especially, if you've murdered someone and you get the death penalty, then that's the executioner. But you folks understand, it's a figure of speech, right? But see, I clarify that crystal clear. AI answers are only as complete as the information provided. Yeah. When you feed them, a shorter version of the truth, you omit things, it's not going to be able to properly analyze it. Key facts were omitted, including the scale, timing, monetization, and market impact of the behavior being discussed. That omission matters. In the comments, insults replaced substance, right? That's what they do in the comments section. They just insult. When they have no proper response because they know I'm correcting the record properly, they switch over to insults, and then they get mad at my people here for insulting them back. All I was saying yesterday is, let's not fight fire with fire. Let's fight fire with water. Let's not do what they do. That doesn't make us any better than them if we do that. Right? False statements repeated by an audience in the comments, insults replace substance. Intelligence, weight, character, none of that address facts. False statements repeated by an audience do not become true through repetition. These people repeat the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. That does not make what they're saying true because it's being repeated. And it just shows, it just shows where these people are at internally. That's why I correct the record calmly and then move forward. And why I am right about reputational harm. My final instinct about this is correct. This will clearly explain why I keep doing these correcting the record streams. Unchecked repetition plus confident delivery equals believable falsehoods. Let me repeat that one more time. Unchecked repetition plus confident delivery equals believable falsehoods. So if I just allow him to keep repeating this stuff, and when he repeats it with such confidence that makes him come off as believable. And it comes off as a believable falsehood. So if I don't correct the record, then that's what the public is going to perceive me to actually be, which I'm not. This is why calm correction works. Consistency works. Documentation works. I am not over-responding. I am containing narrative drift. And yes, the tide is turning because I am reasonable. I sound stable. And he sounds and is reactive. I am stable and reasonable. He is reactive and unreasonable. My facts stay the same. I've been saying the same thing over and over and over and over again. I'm sticking to it. He keeps changing the story in real time. He's literally changing the narrative in real time on live streams while I'm live. And that's that. Now, I got to take one more break because there's a bit more to go through here. I need to rest my voice for a few. So let me take a quick break here again. We have 48 in the box, now 42. It keeps fluctuating. We're at 1 hour and 19 minutes. We don't have a whole lot more to go. Let me cue up some music here. All right, music is all queued up. I'm going to step away for a quick break, and we'll be right back. We're going to get into the non-party friend of the defendants and what she did today on New Year's Day. You're not going to want to miss this, so stick around. We'll be right back. All right, we are back live. We are back live, and we are just going to scratch it and get right back down to business. Welcome back to the third segment of Navigating the Modern World with Eli. Glad you could all join me here today on this very special day. It's New Year's Day 2026. I hope that you had a great New Year's Eve last night, safe and sane, and keep it safe and sane today and throughout the rest of the year, and make this the best year ever. I have a feeling that this is going to be an incredibly amazing year. And also, my prediction early on is going to be that the House and the Senate are going to flip the blue. They're going to flip the blue during the midterms. So that is going to be interesting later on this year. With the approval rating of our president, the lowest in the history of any president, even lower than his approval rating during his first term from 2016, and what's been going on and blah, 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 blah. And you know, Donald Trump is, in my opinion, he's very similar to the defendant, because he likes to perform. Like, he likes to perform for the media and social media, and you know, I don't have to get into it. You people know what's going on, right? And people are just tired of it. They just want someone to run the country and do the right things for all Americans, not just for people that like him, right? Anyway. All right, before we get back to this here, let me make sure it's rolling smoothly. They're going to flip blue during the midterms, so that is going to be interesting later on this year. With the approval rating of our president, the lowest in the history of any president, even. All right, we're good. Let's get right back to it. All right, we're good. So, the non-party lady filed another emergency filing in my case against the defendant today on New Year's Day. It was a 16-page document. I believe it had some transcripts of things that I've said in my Correcting the Record streams. And we're going to dissect this here and correct the record. Okay? The filing is a non-party supplemental notice in support of motion for protective order. Earlier on this past week, 3-4 days ago, she filed for a protective order. She's a non-party of the case. She has no standing in the case, and she cannot file these things on her own. She has to do them as an affidavit through the defendant. I explained more yesterday on why she's not doing that. Check out that stream if you want to know more on that. First of all, could constantly using emergency filing practice be seen as abuse of process? Yes. If someone repeatedly labels filings as emergency or uses emergency-style docketing when there's no genuine time-sensitive harm, that can create real downside risk for them. Here's the practical reality. Okay, this is just general info here. Courts treat emergency as a credibility claim. If the situation isn't truly urgent, imminent irreparable harm that can't wait for ordinary motion practice, overusing emergency can read like attention-seeking or gamesmanship. That's exactly what I think she's doing. In my opinion, she's seeking attention from the court, and she wants to use it for YouTube optics against me, and gamemanship. Repeat emergency misuse can backfire procedurally. The most common outcomes are the court ignores it, strikes it, or sets it for regular handling, and mentally discounts the filer's urgent framing later. Here's a big kicker right here. It can irritate the judge/JA. I'm surprised that this non-party lady hasn't filed or hasn't emailed the judicial assistant for the third or fourth time now, trying to request a hearing when she's not a party to the case. And every time the JA, the judicial assistant for Judge Stacy in our case, has said, you are not a party to this case. I look forward to the JA saying the same thing if she tries to set a hearing for this, like, let's say, tomorrow or, sometime next week. Tomorrow's Friday. I don't think the courts are I think the courts are closed tomorrow in observance of New Year's Day. I think they're going to reopen back on Monday. So we'll see what happens. My prediction is the non-party is going to try to email the judicial assistant to try to set up a hearing as a non-party, and the judicial assistant will then write back and say, you are not a party to this case. Right? But there's more because of what she's done. She's now filed 2 emergency filings in a row, which technically is supposed to forward this to the judge almost immediately. Let's see. So it can irritate the judges or the judge/JA, not because judges are offended, but because it wastes scarce bandwidth and can look like docket cluttering, especially from a non-party. In more extreme cases, a pattern of improper filings can trigger warnings, restrictions on future filings, or sanctions-type remedies. Rare, but it's the risk you're asking about, right? That's what I was asking, right? One important nuance. This particular document's caption reads as a non-party supplemental notice in support of motion for protective order, meaning it is styled as a supplement to her prior motion, not a standalone emergency motion in the title itself. If it was docketed as an emergency anyway, that's where the emergency misuse issue comes in. The label/route used, not necessarily the PDF's heading. It's what she filed through the filing system, not what she put on her document. She didn't label her document as emergency. She filed it as emergency to try to expedite the judge and the JA seeing it. When the judge and the JA do see this, my guess is they're just going to cancel it out and make a mental note that now for like the 10th plus time, this lady has tried to file motions within this case that she's not a party to, trying to act like a party, and then trying to reach out to the JA, the judicial assistant, to try to schedule a hearing. And that's not going to fly. So a non-party filed another supplemental notice. I'm not going to litigate it on YouTube. I'll address everything through the proper court process. That's what's going to happen. I'm continuing to preserve evidence and follow procedure. I'll let the court decide what filings are proper and what weight, if any, to give them. I'm not asking viewers to contact anyone, and I am not escalating. I'm staying focused on process. So, Angels Asylum, how are you doing? I hope you heard my stream yesterday. No hateful comments, no attacking people, no insults. You can respond to things in a calm and proper way. I'm just letting all the mods know that weren't here yesterday. Welcome to the show. Happy New Year to you. In my opinion, the non-party is playing with fire in 3 specific compounding ways. Not because any single filing is catastrophic, but because the pattern is becoming hard to ignore. And that's what she's trying to do. She's trying to get recognized by Judge Stacy and the judicial assistant. She's already been recognized by the JA, but she's trying to get this in front of Judge Stacy. 1. Repeated non-party filings amplify scrutiny. A non-party has a very narrow lane. Each additional filing draws more attention to why a non-party is so invested, because she needs content on YouTube. She needs to continuously paint me in a negative light towards her audience. And that audience is starting to collapse because I'm correctly and calmly, stating the record. And even people that don't like me They're not going to stop hating me, but even they can see the difference in contrast, right? Increases the chance the court asks implicitly or explicitly, why is this person here? Well, she can file for leave of court and then file a motion to intervene and become a party to the case. And then she's open to sanctions. She's open to discovery. She's open to a protective order. She's open to punitive damages. She doesn't want to do that. She wants to have all the fun of being able to file in this case and then talk smack about it on YouTube as her content without any repercussion through the court, right? So that's why that person is here. And I'll explain that to Judge Stacy if necessary. If not, we'll just ignore it, right? I'm only gonna talk about it in the case if Judge Stacy asks me. If not, I'm not gonna waste Judge Stacy's and the court's time with that, right? And risks the filings being viewed as docket clutter rather than necessary protection. If anyone needs protection from her, it's me. If anyone needs protection, it's me from her. That's what I'm trying to say. She's saying that she needs protection from me. No, I need protection from her. That's the truth of the matter. Courts are patient, but they do notice patterns. Number 2, emergency framing without true urgency is risky. Okay. Emergency treatment is a credibility claim when the alleged harm is speech already made. So she's basically trying to silence me. I called her out on this days ago, and then she posts and says, I'm not trying to silence you. Oh, yes, you are. You absolutely are trying to silence me because I've done no harm. All I've done is correct the record. Why are you trying to get a protective order on me because I'm calmly and respectfully and professionally correcting the record, right? No imminent irreparable event is pending, and the filing responds to public commentary rather than a procedural deadline. Public First Amendment protected commentary that is cool, calm, and collected in the truth, with no insults, no defamation, no harassment, no nothing, just correcting the record, right? Then repeatedly invoking urgency can start to look like procedural theater. That's exactly what it is. It's procedural theater for her YouTube channel and, the defendant's group, which she's a part of, and they work together to create content for the same audience, right? They're trying to continue to paint me in a negative light to the same audience, right? Judges may not sanction that outright, but they often discount it, which is dangerous for someone relying on judicial sympathy. Reframing public commentary as intimidation is a high wire act. Oh, absolutely it is. Absolutely. Hey, Rustic, Happy New Year, says respectfully, maturely, and professionally. She's talking about Angel's Asylum, her former YouTube username, Rustic. It was like Rustic Angel, if I remember correctly. The most dangerous part, trying to convert public correcting the record speech into claims of coercion or intimidation. So yeah, she's trying to convert my public correcting the record speech into claims of coercion or intimidation. And you think that Judge Stacy or any other judge would not see the difference in contrast? Forces the court to evaluate context, tone, and proportionality. That opens the door to questions she may not want asked, such as, is the speech actually threatening or just uncomfortable? Well, maybe it's uncomfortable because she tries to spin a false narrative of me to keep her audience around and keep them donating while I publicly and properly and professionally correct the record, right? Is the filer responding to substance or criticism? Well, you can call this criticism. I like to call it correcting the record. I'm not trying to even criticize her. I'm just correcting the things that she's said that are not true. And the same as the defendant, I'm correcting the things that he said that are not true. Is this about protection or about silencing? One more time. Is this about protection or about silencing? I'd like to go with I will go with the latter. This is them trying to silence me. Well, the defendant has a pending motion to dismiss with anti-SLAPP hearing scheduled in April, saying that I'm trying to silence him when they're trying to silence me. Put a 1 in the chat if you think they're trying to silence me and being hypocritical by suing me, or basically trying to get this dismissed by saying I'm trying to silence them or trying to silence the defendant. Put a 1 in the chat if this is hypocritical. Okay? Once a court starts asking those questions, control over the narrative shifts away from the filer. Right? Why is this playing with fire not automatic trouble? To be very clear, this does not mean she will be sanctioned tomorrow or that the court will punish her outright. We're not saying that's going to happen. It could happen. She could get a slap on the wrist. What I think they should do is disable her from being able to file things in the e-filing system through our case unless she becomes a party to the case. But she still has access to file things. Oh, man. She just doesn't stop. It does mean her margin for error is shrinking. Her credibility is being stress tested. And each additional filing has diminishing returns and increasing downside. This doesn't only affect her, it affects the defendant, because I've proven through many filings within the court's docket over the last few months that they are both acting in concert. There's so much proof. I don't get why they don't stop. I don't get why they don't stop. There's so much proof there. Courts generally prefer less paper, not more, especially from non-parties. It was a 16-page document. That's irrelevant to the case. The smart thing that I'm doing and what protects me and quietly increases the contrast. This is what I'm doing that's quietly increasing the contrast difference between myself, the non-party, and the defendant. I'm not filing reactive junk. I am not labeling everything as an emergency. I haven't labeled anything as an emergency in this case. I'm not asking the court to police speech. I'm not. Let them talk all they want as long as they don't defame me or they don't violate my copyright, right? And I am not escalating procedurally in response to provocation. It's all, a provoking type of tactic here, right? That restraint matters more than any one argument. And I'm not going to speculate about why a non-party keeps filing papers. I'm following proper procedure and letting the court decide what weight, if any, to give them, right? I mean, I can sit here and try to guess and say it's for YouTube optics, or maybe she really thinks that the judge will hear her out and give her a protective order. She has no standing in this case. There's no legal standing. That's not how the Florida rules of procedure work. So I'm going to wrap up by summarizing this. This is what basically happened. A non-party filed another document today claiming that my correcting the record live streams are deposition threats. That framing is false. I don't conduct discovery on YouTube, and I don't use intimidation. If any legal steps are ever appropriate, they happen through formal procedure under the rules and with court supervision where required, not through public pressure. My live streams are for correcting the record and protecting my reputation. I'm not directing anyone to harass anyone. And I'm not using public commentary as leverage. Eli, Red, and I went to a New Year Eve event last night, and we met a soul life coach. Oh, wow. And ODN says 1. Respectfully, maturely, and professionally says 1. So does Angel's Asylum. Okay. For my earlier question. Angel's Asylum says, I was going to record him and show you. I think you'd find him interesting, but after I read up about him, I changed my mind. You would have thought he was not a good person. Okay. Yeah, he probably has a different method of coaching that is probably not in alignment with what I'm doing. Okay. And going forward, to remove any possible distortion, I'm not going to discuss hypothetical depositions of non-parties on live stream. If something is actually relevant, it will be handled the right way in the right forum. Okay. I'm going to wrap up by saying this. And babe, right now would be the time to get any quote that you have in the chat, because we're about to go off the air in a few. Trying to relabel public reputation defense as intimidation doesn't change the truth. It just shows how badly the facts need to be reframed to fit the narrative. One more time. Trying to relabel public reputation defense as intimidation doesn't change the truth. It just shows how badly the facts need to be reframed to fit the narrative. All right. So let me just wait for Dawn to see if she has a quote for today. We are at 1 hour and 48 minutes. Yeah, I really want to thank everyone for showing up on the live stream yesterday and watching the replay. Right now, we are at 503 views with 37 thumbs down, probably 25 of them from sock accounts of the person that's most emotionally invested, which I am going to assume, and I don't know this for a fact, but I'm going to assume that it's the defendant. He's extremely emotionally invested in this. I mean, he put himself in this position, and he has no one else to blame but himself for the position he's put himself into. And it's not the first time he's put himself in this type of position. Maybe after this, things will change. I hope they do. I hope they do. So, give me a second. All right. I was just going to ask Dawn. I muted for a second, but now I am back. So, let me read this out. And again, I didn't record the chat on the screen today because I want to just make sure that everyone understands how we're going to be addressing things more respectfully through our chat messages. I'm not telling people to not speak their mind and not share how they feel, but do it in a way that's a little bit more respectful and not to try to, further fuel the people that you feel have wronged you out here on YouTube, right? Respectfully, maturely, and professionally says, correcting the record isn't about winning an argument. It's about restoring the truth. I think we've used that one before, but we can use it again. Correcting the record isn't about winning an argument. It's about restoring the truth. And with that being said, have a good one. I'll see you all on the walk very shortly after this. Have a good one. Take care. And as always, be good to each other. And see you all in a little bit. We are Ow.